Okay, as we prepare to get on, we'll start we have 2 minutes yet to go. I just want to make a couple of announcements, as they would say. A very special class, very special lecture coming up, which is on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Rabbi Yossi Jacobson, world-renowned speaker, is going to speak the March to the New Year, and inspire us this coming Wednesday night. I'd like to thank the sponsor of the Wednesday night program. Also coming up, we're having a high holiday family fair. That's going to be for kids, for the Talmud Torah, on Sunday, September 13th, at the Chabad House. So hopefully you'll all participate. Come with your kids. Also, next week, we are going to be having Holiday Within, a deeply inspired musical, visual, and spiritual experience. And that's going to be on Wednesday, September 23rd at 8 p.m. You don't want to miss it. So hopefully you will put that date aside. Also, we are filling up for the give out on Erev Yontiv. I can't find the advertisement over here. If I can find it in a second. We're giving out wonderful stuff. Do you have it, Khan, someplace? We're giving out wonderful stuff. And Erev Yontiv Rosh Hashanah drive-through, which is also going to be on Wednesday, September 16th at 1 to 2 p.m. You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss that. If you didn't book yet, please call up the office or go to chabadwestboca.com. Also, so many things are happening. What do you say? Kids honey bake date on which Thursday? This Thursday? September 10th. Kids honey bake. What time? At 4:30 p.m. Shayna Kramer's Zoom. You don't want to miss that. What else is going on? So many things going on. Be'ezrat Hashem, hopefully you'll participate. Tomorrow night we are finishing the class on Mashiach, which is at 7:30 p.m., the last class on the topic of Mashiach. Also, we unveiled an unbelievable website called TorahDirect.com. 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 It's an amazing website with all the programs, all the classes that have been given by myself, Rabbi Nasha, my wife, and other guest speakers. You can find all the JLI classes that have been given lately on Zoom are all on TorahDirect.com. Also, we opened up another website, BocaJewishAcademy.com. Boca Jewish Academy, BJA, BocaJewishAcademy.com. Unbelievable website. You should go to that website and see the wonderful things that we have going on education in Boca Raton at Chabad of West Boca Raton. So with that, we have exactly an hour because I have another class at 8 o'clock. So we have exactly an hour to give you this wonderful class that has been put together again by the Jewish Learning Institute. I want to thank them, as always, the Jewish Learning Institute, for giving us this unbelievable class that I believe you're all going to enjoy and learn a great deal from. So today is Yutes. Today is Chai Elul. I'm sorry, today is Chai Elul, the 18th day of Elul, Good Yontiv. Today is a very special day in the Chabad calendar, in the Jewish calendar. Today is extremely a very unbelievable day for the Jewish people. For today is a day of the birthday, as we'll soon explain, the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov and the birthday of the Alter Rebbe. Okay, so we're going to start off with something that happened in the American calendar on this day, and I didn't know this until I learned this class. On the 18th day of Elul, around that time in the English calendar, the Mayflower was set to settle the New World. That's what happened in the English calendar, my friends. In 1620, 102 passengers succeeded to cross the ocean and to start the new world that we all live in, the wonderful United States of America. So, but that's not what we're going to exactly talk about, that we are interested exactly in. For we are interested in a different happening that happened on the 18th day of Elul in the year 1698. On the 18th day of Elul, in the year 1698, the Jewish world changed. For it's the day that the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Yisrael ben Eliezer v'Sara, Rabbi Yisrael, the son of Eliezer, and Sarah, that was his parents' name, was born on the 18th day of Elul in the year 1698. And that changed the world. That changed the world, especially the Jewish world, and it changed the entire world because the teachings of Hasidus, as we're going to soon explain, all started because of the birth of Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem, which he was called the Baal Shem Tov, the master of the good name. So, my friends, the Baal Shem Tov was born on 1698, and we are asked the question, and people always ask the question, what defines a chassid? If I would ask you the question, I know you cannot answer it right now, but if I would ask you the question, what defines a chassid? What is the definition of a chassid? Where do we see the concept of what is a chassid? Some might say a chassid is somebody who has a rebbe, who has a rebbe who he follows. A chassid, some people say, is a person that helps other people. A chassid is happy. You always make a picture of chassidim. They're happy. A chassid, people might say, is somebody who engages in prayer, in depth in prayer. What is a chassid? What is a chassid? A chassid is not coined by chassidim. A chassid is the simple meaning of a chassid. The word a chassid means a pious individual. But what is the meaning of a chassid? And really the question is, what is the meaning of chassidim? The meaning of chassidim also comes from they are called chassidim because of the teaching, chassidut. And because of the teaching of chassidut comes their name that they are called chassidim. And in a singular, it's the meaning of a chassid. But what is the true meaning of chassidus? What is the true meaning of chassidus? What did the Baal Shem Tov revolutionize in the world, in the concept of Torah, in the revelation of chassidus to the world, which the Baal Shem Tov started, as you'll soon see, when he started off the teachings of chassidus, the teachings of chassidus to the world. This question of what did chassidus bring to the world is not a new question. It's a question that has been asked throughout history. What did chassidus bring to the world? And why do we need to learn chassidus? And this question was asked. There was a famous story in the times of the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Lubavitcher Rebbe, who we know that the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rav Shneur Zalman Adi, was also born the 18th day of Elul, also struggled with the authorities of his time. And in the Tzemach Tzedek, a second.
share screen, make sure you click. Yeah, you do. Okay.
He went to in the year 1843 in Russia. The Tsar came, the Tsarist government, and especially the guy over here in the picture, Russian Minister of Education, Sergei Urov, came to for 4 months. Was out to see what Chassidim was, and for many months they plagued this Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi the Tzemach Tzedek Nachum Mendel of blessed memory, and he was put into prison over that couple of months. And the ultimate question the Russian Minister of Education asked the Rebbe, Judaism has been around for over 3,000 years. For generations, millions of Jews managed to study Torah and adhere to Torah and its mitzvahs. What then has been contributed by Hasidic movement? What have you contributed to Judaism? What have you given to Yiddishkeit? What have you given to Yiddishkeit? That was the basic question that he wanted to know. What did Chassidim give to Yiddishkeit? And when it comes to the answer of the Tzemach Tzedek, we're going to give the answer to Tzemach Tzedek. We'll give the answer at the end of the class. Let us first start this class. Let us first understand the history of the Baal Shem Tov. Let's start the little history of the Baal Shem Tov. So the Torah, we all know that the Torah is divided into the written law, Torah Shebiksav, the written law, and then you have Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral law, which is tradition, Messiah, Medrash, and mysticism is also part of the oral law, the oral tradition. So you have the written law and you have the oral law. Now, as Jews, we believe Torah Shebiksav, the written law, and the oral law were both given at Mount Sinai. Everything was given at Mount Sinai, Torah Shebiksav, the written law, and the oral law. That means all the law and all its interpretation, and even its mystical interpretation, was also given at Mount Sinai. But in that category of the oral tradition, we have Jewish mysticism, which is called Torah HaYesod, the secret of the Torah. Study was limited to a small group of virtuous individuals. Kabbalah was study limited to receiving from a teacher. It was a very limited learning, and it was not given over to everybody the capability of learning Torah HaChasidus, the Torah of Kabbalah. So we know that in the Maimonides writes, the secrets of the Torah were transmitted by a small group of elite scholars to a small group of elite scholars. Let me try to get this thing over here. As the sages said in the Talmud, the secrets of the Torah may only be transmitted to a person of counsel and a skillful craftsman, one who understands the secrets. Only small snippets and allusions to them appear in the Talmud and the Medrash, like a few kernels contained in a great many shells. When occupied with the shell, people don't even know that the kernels lie beneath them. So deep is the learning of the Rambam writes in the book of in Ben Revuchim, the book of the Perplex. He writes that it's not the Torah Kabbalah is not for every single person. It's not there for every individual to learn the Torah Kabbalah, to be able to understand it. So, to understand Torah Kabbalah. So let's go to the next page. We have the Zohar. The Zohar was written according to tradition. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wrote the Zohar. He wrote the Zohar. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was one of the sages of the Mishnah. mentioned the most in the Mishnah, in all Mishnayos, is Rab Shimon Bar Yochai, and he lived in the 160 BCE. He wrote the Zohar. The Zohar was printed in the 13th century, and here we see a first print of Italy in the 1558. The Zohar is the teachings of Rab Shimon Bar Yochai, this great scholar, the times of before the Gemara, in times of the Mishnah, and he was the one who brought about these teachings. He wrote the book, the Zohar, which you can buy today, translated in many languages. Very difficult to comprehend the Zohar and to understand the Zohar. The Jewish people went through a tough history after this time. So that's what the Zohar is. He says over here, the Zohar, compiled with the teaching of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and other scholars, consists of several sections written in Aramaic in symbolic formulation that requires to be able to decipher and to be able to understand what the Zohar says is very, very difficult. In 1492, we all know King Ferdinand and Queen of Isabella, Yamach Shemam v'Zichram, may their name be erased, signed a decree of the expulsion of the Jews of Spain. And that started the journey of the Jews, the Sephardic Jews, who went from Spain to Portugal, from country to country, to get away from the Inquisition. And it's a very sad history of the Jewish people and their struggles from, as we'll see in a second, from 1391, started the riots in Spain. In 1478, the Inquisition begins. In 1492, the Jews are expelled from Spain. In 1497, many Jews went to Portugal. They thought they'll find a haven in Portugal. Ultimately, in Portugal, he was this, whatever the king's name, may his name be also obliterated, Machshemai. He didn't even allow the Jews to leave. He closed the borders and he forced the Jews to convert in Portugal in 1497. It was a rough time for the Sephardic Jews of that time. And therefore the Jews ran from there and they went closer to the Ottoman Empire, which was the Ottoman Empire had at that time also added to Israel. That was part of the Ottoman Empire. So now we come to the next part of history. And that is the Arizal. The Arizal was born in 1534. He was born in 1534 and lived in Egypt, and ultimately came to Israel, to the land of Israel, to the city of Tzfas in 1570. And he passed away in 1572. He was only in Tzfas for 2 years. And he was a very young man, a 38-year-old man. Here is a picture of his burial place in Tzfas. He was a great Kabbalist. And he brought down the teachings of the Zohar and the concept of the teachings of Kabbalah. He himself did not write anything down. Actually, his student, he had many students, but his prized student, Rab Chaim Vital, was buried right near him, who lived from 1524 to 1620, wrote down the teachings of the Arizal. And the teaching of Arizal is really the foundation of what we have of Kabbalah today, what we study, those who study the teachings of the Arizal. So there we have the next part of history. At the end of the 15th century, arrival of Sephardic Jews to the land of Israel as they ran away from Spain. 1570, arrival of Yitzhak Luria, the Arizal to Sfas. Beginning of the Luranic school of Kabbalah. In 1572, passing of the Arizal, his teachings preserved by a student of Chai Vital. And that starts off the teaching, the customs of the Arizal spread throughout the Jewish world. The Jews that didn't live, not the Sephardic Jews, the other Jews that lived in Europe, there was a big group of Jews that lived in Europe. They lived in Poland and Russia, Ukraine. They lived seemingly much better than the Jews that were under the Arab rule at that time. But that didn't last either too long, because in the year of 1648, the Ukraine riot started. The famous Khmelnytsky pogroms. The leader Bogdan Khmelnytsky, Osi Yamach Shemoy V'Zichroi, may his name be erased from existence, started the pogroms in Europe, killing millions of Jews. There's not a number how many Jews Khmelnytsky killed at that time. And it became a very sad time for the Jewish people. It became a dark time for the Jewish people because people lost their parnasa, people lost their livelihood. People couldn't send their kids to school. Pasha needed to work the earth, Pasha, to make bread. It's a terrible time, and it became also a time where there was a great separation between those that were great scholars and those that were simple people. And there was a big chasm, so to say, between them, because the simple people were very unlearned, and the learned people were extremely learned, and there was no connection between the two. So there was depression by the Jewish people. This happened from 1648 or 49 till Chayel of 1698. 1698, the Eibishter God sent down an neshama to the world, to two people, two very special people, Eliezer, Rabbi Eliezer, and his wife Sarah, elderly people. So he was born in a miraculous way. And he came down to the world in 1698 on this day. And his parents died. Both his mother and father died before he was 5 years old. And this was a very famous statement that the Frierdiker Rebbe in text number 2 writes about what his father, Rabbi Eliezer, told his son, his 5-year-old child, on his deathbed. My son, this is what he told to Rabbi Yisrael, of this little Yisrael. He told this young boy, my son, fear nothing but God alone. Love every Jew with the full flame of your soul, no matter who it is. And this child was an orphan. His father passed away. Orphan from his father, orphan from his mother. He was a child that was brought up by people, other people. And we don't know much what happened his younger years that much. He is known that he used to hang out in the forest a lot. He ultimately would help children, help parents take their children to cheder. He was a child monitor. who brought children to Cheder and has brought down his love that he showed bringing these children and making them happy that they should go to Cheder. And he was a very seclusive individual. And that all changed. That all changed. He was born in the 18th of El, 1698. And on the 18th of El, in 1734, the Baal Shem Tov revealed himself to the world, and he started to teach Toras Chassidus. He started to teach the world the teachings of Chassidus. In 1734, the same day that he was born, he was at this time 36 years old. And he started to teach Chassidus to the world. Changed the world through the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. And he became so famous that he got the name, the Baal Shem Tov, the master of the good name. Because he came to the world to uplift a depressed world. As the Arizal came to reveal Kabbalah, so that the world that was in an aspect of faintitude after the expulsion of Spain and Portugal and the way the Jews, Sephardic Jews had to run from country to country, the Baal Shem Tov came in 1734 to reveal Chassidus, to uplift the Jewish people, to give them something, give them a fresher breath air, that they would be able to catch their breath. And by catching their breath, they would revive the Jewish people, which he did. The difference was that Arizal stayed in Tzfas. He didn't go away the 2 years he was there. People had to come to him. The Baal Shem Tov traveled. The Baal Shem Tov traveled the breadth and width of where he could. Baal Shem Tov also, we know, tried to come to Eretz Yisrael. Many times he tried to come to Eretz Yisrael, and for different reasons he couldn't make it. But the Baal Shem Tov traveled in his whole country and the countries around him to reach out to every single Jew and to uplift every single Jew. And he was unconventional in his times. And he was challenged in his times. There were those who were extremely against the Baal Shem Tov because he was totally unconventional. He went out to people, he uplifted them, he told them they're special, as we'll soon see, the basic teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. And the Baal Shem Tov became widely known, and he became an unbelievable leader and an unbelievable educator of his time and all times. This is the signature of the Baal Shem Tov, the way he would sign his name. Yisrael, that's his first name, son of Eliezer. I can't read the end of that name. So figure number 3, you see, eastward immigration of the Jews from Central Europe to Poland in search for improved living. 1648, the devastation of the Jewish community by the Chmelnitzi uprising. And in 1698, the birth of the Baal Shem Tov. And in 1734, the beginning of the Hasidic movement. There you have the history, the timeline. Basically, the timeline of when the Hasidic movement came about. What the Baal Shem Tov want to teach the Jewish people. I'm going to give you here a simple analogy of what the Baal Shem Tov wanted to teach Am Yisrael. And the analogy that is given in this class is the picture in front of you. Life is like an onion. Life is like an onion. Why is life like an onion? Some people say because both have an unpleasant smell. Some people say both make us cry. Some might say both are often fried. Some might say both come in different colors. But life is like an onion in Chassidus because it has many layers. Life has many, many layers. what you see is not always what you get. And therefore, if you want to take two concepts in life, let's say a wooden table or sunlight, there's two ways, and we'll soon see there's three ways of looking at such a thing. What is a wooden table and what is sunlight? So if you look at it through the eyes of a naked eye, it's a table. It's a wooden table. If you're a scientist, sunlight is light of the sun. If you look at more deeper, if you're going to go and take off a couple of layers from the what you see, you go deeper, take up some layers, go deeper. And if you're a scientist, you can go to the core. When a scientist looks at a table, he sees neutrons. When a scientist looks at light, he sees the wave of light. He sees much deeper stuff. That is the Arizal. The Arizal, in essence, came to teach that what you see in life, you need to go deeper. You need to go to the core of every situation. That's what the Arizal wanted to teach and taught the Jewish nation. That everything has an essence to it. But really, according to the teachings of the Arizal, you cannot see both entities at the same time. The scientist has to have a microscope to see the essence of something. When the scientist looks at a table, also he sees a table. He needs to have the utensils, the microscope to look the table under the microscope to take away its layers and see the core of a table, or to see the core of light. It's hard to see, even a scientist, to be able to see the table and the core of light at the same time. Comes the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov flips it over a little bit. The Baal Shem Tov, Chassidus, teaches us a whole different point. Chassidus teaches us to focus surface reality. Chassidus teaches us what this class is called, inside out. Chassidus tells us that you don't have to take off the layers to see the core of the thing. No, you need to learn about go inside and then see what the real outside is. You need to put on glasses. So if you have a fuzzy day, you need to put on a pair of glasses to see what it really is. That's, I believe, the picture that you're watching over here. So the Baal Shem Tov came to look the other way, to go in the inside and look from the inside to the out. The Arizal said, no, go from the outside to the inside. So then you have to go away from the outside. And the Baal Shem Tov said, no, go into the inside. And from the inside, you'll see the outside. So the Baal Shem Tov said, I don't want to run away from the table. I want the table to stay a table and to realize that the table was created for its real purpose, for the inside. And that is the teaching. It's a very deep thing. I think the next slide will give you the words of the Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab. Look at his words. It's a very deep words. Maybe we should write it down. The teaching of Kabbalah made man out of godliness, where the teaching of Chassidus made godliness out of man. It's a very deep words. But in essence, that what I just explained to you, that's what it means. Kabbalah said, man, you have to go to the essence, it's godliness. Chassidus, the Baal Shem Tov taught, no, godliness is man. You have to find within the man godliness. And that was the teaching of Chassidus. Chassidus didn't want a person should run away from who he is and what he is, but he should look at himself different. He should look at it through looking at its core. He should see that he himself is different. That's why Chassidus demands avoida. Avoida means working on oneself. It doesn't happen naturally that I should be able to feel godliness within my own existence, to see godliness within my own existence. That takes avoida. So Kabbalah said, put away yourself. You really want to know godliness? Put yourself away, go deep, and you'll find godliness. You might have to put yourself aside. You might have to forget about yourself. You might have to negate yourself. Well, Chassidus says the opposite. Don't negate yourself. Go with inside and see how the outside helps the inside. And there are many, many teachings of the Baal Shem Tov on this. Not brought down in this class, all those teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. But this powerful statement of the Rebbe Rashab is powerful on its own. This statement of the Rebbe Rashab. So let's look at a couple of basic teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. We're going to get 3 teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. I got to finish this. One of the most important teachings of the Baal Shem Tov is Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence. Here again, text number 4. Divine providence extends to this world as much as it does to the supernal realms. Events ranging from the journey of a detached leaf fluttering in the wind to a worm slithering in the desert or in a city, to a conversation between fish in the sea, to a minute movement of the smallest creature found in the ocean, all takes place by divine providence. This was one of my major teachings of Chassidus. God is not only in the spiritual, God is in the moving of a leaf in the street. When you see a leaf rolling down Glades Road, that is divine providence. From the time of creation, God wanted that leaf would roll down Glades Road at this and this time. That's Hashgacha Pratis. That's the concept of divine providence. Very powerful teaching. So therefore, in an easy way, just quickly, if you look at it without a glass, an onion without glasses, my life is a result of series of consequences. What? Coincidences, I'm sorry. If you look at it in the Kabbalah way, no, God is aware of all creatures and events. You go to the essence, you're going to find God. Each of them is required to fulfill goals of the creation. You got to go to the core. Don't look at the table. Don't look at the thing that's happening. Go to the essence. Comes the Baal Shem Tov and says, no, everything in my life advances me towards my purpose. You don't have to go away from what you are doing. You don't got to change anything. You got to make that thing better. If God brought you to this situation at this time, then God wants you to be at this place and this time. That was an unbelievable teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. The Eibishter, God puts you in any situation you're in. Nothing happens by coincidence. Where you are in any situation in life, that's where you're supposed to be. And there's a purpose in why you're supposed to be in this situation at this time. And that is to bring godliness within it, to bring purpose within the situation that you're in. Very big difference between the Kabbalistic way of looking at things and the Chassidic teachings. It's based on it. It's based on it. The Chassidic teachings of the Baal Shem Tov was you have to take the core and bring it to the source. You got to go inside out. That's why, again, this class is called Inside Out. Kabbalah said, let's go inside. Get rid of the outside, maybe. Chassidus says, no, go inside, but it has to affect the outside. Let's go to the next teaching of the Baal Shem. This is another powerful teaching of the Baal Shem. Every Jew is as dear to God as an only child born to his parents in their old age, and even more so. Now, the Baal Shem Tov said this statement because he knew this statement. He was an only child born to elderly parents of old age. So therefore, he brought that example, but he says even more so. The teaching of the Baal Shem Tov was that every human being, especially every Jew, is so important. Nobody should feel that they're secondary. Nobody should feel they need to run up for anybody else. Nobody needs to be anybody else. To God, you are as important as any other human being and any other Jew. Trust me, in the time of the Baal Shem Tov, this was revolutionary. And it got him into a lot of trouble. Let's go into the three things again. You are king's only child. When you're onion without glasses, my identity is based on my actions. Am I successful? Am I not successful? Am I great? Am I rich? Am I poor? Kabbalah, that Izal came and taught, my inner personality is pure. You have a godly soul. And nothing can change this fact. That's no question about it. Take away the skin of the onion, take away all the narishkeit, take away all the craziness, you're going to find an unbelievable reality in you. Comes about Shem Tov and says, you don't take away nothing. Don't take away nothing. I am the king's son and he loves me eternally. The Eibishter loves me. God loves me. I might need to take a shower, maybe get cleaned a little bit, but the Eibishter loves me. He doesn't love me what I do or what I don't do. He loves me as an only child. Another unbelievable teaching of Chassidus. Very powerful teaching of Chassidus. Because why? In essence, Chassidus taught us that God put you in the situation that you're in. And God knew, if he hoped and he prays that you overcome your situation. But he knows the situation. He knows exactly who you are. He knows your character. He knows your capabilities. He knows your incapability. He knows exactly who you are. And he doesn't want you to be somebody else. He wants a better you. He wants a better me. So therefore, a person said, but I cannot be a tzaddik. He doesn't want me to be a tzaddik. He wants me to be Zalman Bucket and to be the best that I can be. Another powerful teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. Let's go to another one, text number 6. This is another powerful teaching of the Baal Shem Tov based on this whole concept. The Alter Rebbe was taught by a tzaddik, Rab Mordechai, who heard it from the Baal Shem Tov. And the Baal Shem Tov said, listen to this. This is a famous statement from the Baal Shem Tov also. That a soul comes down to the world and lives for 70 or 80 years for the purpose of doing a favor to another Jew, a physical favor, and especially a spiritual one. Shem Tov taught. You might think you came down to the world to take over the world. You came down to the world to be the greatest rabbi in the world. You came down to the world to be the biggest builder in the world. No. You came down to the world to do a favor for another person. Avas Yisrael. The Baal Shem Tov taught. Avas Yisrael is the Torah. The Baal Shem Tov taught us what means Avas Yisrael. Because he, in essence, taught us in a way that we should realize that is really the purpose of our journey as a person. That's really the purpose, to help another person, to uplift another person, to give a penny to another person. Might be the whole reason that I came down to this world. So therefore, you can look at family shared biological DNA, or we share spiritual DNA, we are family. So the Baal Shem Tov, the Arizal taught we are spiritual DNA. Or that's why we're all family. The Arizal taught us we're all family. Most of us say we're family is only biological family. Comes the Baal Shem Tov and teaches us as follows, my friend. This is the last one. I have not, so a true love of another Jew. Onion without glasses, I have nothing based on a relationship of love on. I don't have a relationship with the guy. I don't know who the guy is. Comes the Arizal and says, no, we all share a spiritual DNA. We all share a spiritual soul. So in the essence, you go to the core, take away all the differences, take away the bodies, and you'll see the soul. We all have a soul. We all have the DNA of a godly entity. Comes the Arizal, comes the Baal Shem Tov, Chassidus, and teaches us that no, I base the relationship of love on the fact that we are one big family. Not only in our DNA, in our soul, we are physically one big family. Because we have a soul, that's why physically we're one big family. We need to look at another Jew as he is my brother. Even though we're not from the same mother and the same father, he's still my brother. We are physically one family. That's the teachings of Chassidus. And that's the power of the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov over even the teachings of the Arizal, the teachings of Kabbalah. That'll happen in the time of the Baal Shem. Well, we really need to talk. We need to really leave the last 10 minutes to talk about the Alter Rebbe, because that was the founding of Chassidus. And then we all know, well, this is a beautiful letter from the Rebbe. The Rebbe writes, the Rebbe writes to a Jew who wrote to him that I am happy you're thinking about a small Jew in a different part of the world. And the Rebbe writes to him, there's no such thing as a small Jew. A Jew must never underestimate his or her tremendous potential. There's no such thing as a small Jew. So let's continue. The Baal Shem Tov was born in 1698. He revealed himself in 1734. And the Alter Rebbe was born in 1812 on Chai Elul, on 1812. The Alter Rebbe called the Baal Shem Tov his spiritual grandfather. The Alter Rebbe was the Baal Shem Tov said when the Alter Rebbe was born that in the Neshama Chadosha, a new soul that was never in the world came to the world. The Arizal already mentioned that there's no new souls coming to the world. They're all regurgitated souls, reincarnated souls. Baal Shem Tov, when the Arizal, when the Alter Rebbe was born, on the same day of his birthday, the Baal Shem Tov said, came a new neshama chadasha, a new soul came to the world. And they should call him Shnei Zalman, because this great soul is going to illuminate the world with two lights, Shnei Oir, two lights. Zalman is Lizman to the world. And this great individual is going to take my teachings and going to transform the world in a much deeper and greater way. And that's what the Alter Rebbe did. The Baal Shem Tov started the Hasidic movement. The Alter Rebbe started the Chabad movement, teachings of Chabad. The Baal Shem Tov passed away in 1760. The Baal Shem Tov passed away in 1760. His student, Abdev Ber of Magad Mezich, became his student, became the leader of the Hasidic movement. The Maggid passed away in 1772, and the Alter Rebbe became the leader of Chabad, the teachings of Chabad. What are the teachings of Chabad? How did the teachings of Chabad change? In addition to the natural faith in God, one inherits by tradition from their parents, one must also get to know God personally. This is Chabad on an intellectual level. The Alter Rebbe said, it's not enough to have a spiritual involvement, a spiritual feeling. We got to have an intellectual relationship with God. When this intellectual awareness is lacking and one has only tradition, it remains abstract and out of reach, hidden in the heart. The Alter Rebbe came about to take the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov and to make it part of the intellectual capacity of each individual. Because when a person understands godliness to each one in their capability, then it becomes them. It's not just a moment of inspiration. It's not just something that he gets inspired when he sees an unbelievable thing, he sees an unbelievable godly entity, he sees a great tzaddik, but actually it changes him from within, from his intellect. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe called it Chabad. So, again, so that all parts of our personality be part of the divine experience, so that our emotions will be stable and sustainable. That's why the Alter Rebbe said, Chabad, Chochmah, Bina, Das, conception, understanding, connection. Chochmah is wisdom, Bina is understanding. They two come together and they create a connection, Das, which is knowledge. Knowledge is connection. We all can have wisdom, we all can have understanding, but it doesn't become my understanding. It's an understanding. There is a wisdom. There is an understanding. There is a total way of life. There is a beautiful concept. We can hear a great speech and say, wow, this is a beautiful concept. I heard a great speech. And the speech stays the speech, and I go on my own way. The Alter Rebbe said, we can't live with moments of inspiration. We need to take this, every single one of us, and learn it, and study it, comprehend it, take that wisdom, understand it, make a connection with it, and then you're going to change your reality. And then you're going to change the way you live your life. Then Chassidus, the light, will be able to penetrate your own existence and change the way you see things. The more I comprehend something, the more I have the capability of changing the way I see things. This was the teachings of the Alter Rebbe through the Tanya, through the learning of the Tanya and his Maimorim, and ultimately all the Rabbeim, all the 7 Rebbes that followed him. Let us come to the answer that the Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, gave to the Russian official at the Rabbinical Conference in 1843. We started off with the story of the Russian official who asked the question, the minister of education asked the question, what the Chassidus bring to the world. And this was his answer. His answer was, the Rebbe replied, water is pure and clean, but it sometimes becomes dirty. Dust gets into the water. Yet even when it's cloudy and unfit for use, it really remains pure. It's only dust that makes it dirty. So how do you take the dirt out of water? The solution is fire. You cook the water. And when the water boils, when the water boils, it takes out its dirt, takes out the negative, and leaving us once with fresh, pure water. Similarly, the Torah is compared to pure water. Sometimes, in the course of one's studies, some dirt, some ego, pride, or other contaminants make its way into the water. Therefore, God gave us Chassidus, the fire that removes the dirt and leaves us without the dirt and restores one's study to pure water. That's what the answer he gave. He said, in essence, water never changes. Water is pure. Water comes from heaven or comes from the depth of the earth. But things come into the water. We need to bring the water back to its purity. So too, in essence, a body comes down, is pure, created by God, is pure. But it brings through its journey, it gets dirty, gets dusty. You got to learn a little Chassidus. By learning Chassidus, you're going to reveal that the water never changed. The body neither ever changed. This what do you call the minister was very taken back. He said, "This is very deep philosophy." And self-understood, he let the Rebbe go. Actually, the Rebbe was given an honorary citizenship after this whole situation that happened to him in 1843. So, my friends, today is the 18th day of Elul. It's a day of the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe, these two great illuminaries who came to the world not to only illuminate themselves, but to illuminate each and every single one of us. By learning the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, by learning the teachings of the Alter Rebbe, we bring light to our life. Not only do we bring light to our life, we bring light to the Torah, the life of the Torah, the teachings of the Torah. So I only hope and I pray today, on this day, through learning, we just learned the teachings of Baal Shem Tov and the teachings of the Alter Rebbe, that they should look down upon us and bless us all, that we should continue to learn, to be a chassid, to learn chassidut in our lives, to learn Tanya and to learn the discourses of the Rebbes, the Rebbe, and by that will be the fire that will separate the good for the bad and reveal that what we thought was bad was always good, because water is pure. So too our soul is pure, and the Baal Shem Tov taught us, just like our soul is pure, our body is pure. Just like godliness is pure, so too God created the physical world. And as the statement says in the Ethics of Our Fathers, Kol ma shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whatever God created in the world, lo bara ela lechvoidai, He created it for His own glory. The Eibishter didn't create the physical world, if not to be able to, in this physical world, realize the beauty, the Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence, in everything that God created. I wish you a wonderful evening, a good night. I'll see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock as we finish the last class of the coming of Mashiach. And on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, Rabbi Yossi Jacobson at 8 o'clock right over here at this Zoom number. It's been a pleasure learning with you. If you have any questions, you may ask. And I wish you all a wonderful and beautiful night. I can unmute everybody. Anybody wants to ask something, they're welcome